Namaste. Welcome to Indian Knowledge Systems Primer Course for Children, offered by Anadi Foundation. In today's lecture, we will look at yoga and the body. In general, how do we make sense of our body? How do we understand it? Observe and wonder about different parts of the body we see, such as the eyes, the hands, legs, ears, nose, and so on. So, we observe these different parts, we see them, we touch them. That leads us to inference. Then we infer the different actions which a human being is capable of doing, such as eating, walking, decision making, feeling. These are the more subtle aspects which make us a human, and we also see that these happen inside our body. Therefore, there are multiple psychological, physiological and cognitive aspects which make up our bodily experience. So, how do we experience our body? Through the senses, through feelings, through emotions, through functions. So, when we run or when we eat and so on, all these come together and interoperate into a complex understanding of the human body which we all have. Now, there are different ways of classifying the body, right? So, first let us start with the system perspectives. As you would have read or observed that there are different systems inside our body, such as the musculoskeletal system, which is our muscles and our bones. We also have a cardiovascular system, which is our heart along with all the other veins and arteries which purify the blood and circulate it all over the body. The cardiovascular system is essential for us to remain alive. Similarly, we also have a digestive system which is composed of a stomach, a small intestine, the large intestine, the liver, the pancreas. That is where all the digestion function after we eat food takes place. We also have the respiratory system, which is composed of our lungs, the bronchi and other parts, our windpipe, our nose, right. So, the air we breathe in and breathe out, the complex process which happens in this simple act of breathing in and breathing out occurs through the respiratory system. So, this is a systemic view of the body where we have broken up the body into different parts based on what function do they perform, and that is how we understand different organ systems as well. But if we were to go to the cellular level, try to understand it from a cell standpoint, what do we get? We understand that cells are what make up our entire body. From cells are the smallest unit from which tissues are made, and from tissues we get one similar type of cell makes a tissue, those tissues make organs, and from organs we get organ systems like we mentioned before. And finally, we can also look at the more elemental perspective. If we were to go one more level below, what would we find? We understand that our body is made up of several elements. You would have studied elements in chemistry or other science subjects, where we understand that our body is composed of oxygen. So, oxygen is essential for us to stay alive as humans. Hence, we breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. But our body elementally is also made up of oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen and so on. If one were to illustrate these different perspectives vis-a-vis the body, these are the images we will get. So, in the firstmost image, you can see that there are different systems, different organs organized into systems and placed here. So, here you have the brain, the central nervous system, here you have the respiratory system, this is the digestive system and so on. So, this is a organ based understanding of the body. If we were to go by what are the constituent elements, then we understand protein is about 18% of our body, 60% of our body is water, fat makes up about 16% of our entire body mass, and minerals etc. constitute about 6%. So, this is another way to see what our body is made up of. The third way, like we discussed, is the elemental perspective. which elements exist. So 65% of the human body has oxygen, 18% carbon, 10% hydrogen, 3% nitrogen and others in this particular mix. Finally, in the last one we see what kind of mass do we have, right? So, what are the different types of cells that our body is made up of? So, 34.3% roughly is extracellular mass, right? There are adipocytes and erythrocytes in our body. Erythrocytes are red blood cells, adipocytes or the adipose tissue as it is called are the fat cells, and about 28.6% of our body is muscle cell alone. The rest of the cells put together constitute about 14.3%. So, this last image that you see is the cellular composition. Which types of cells are we made up of as human beings? These 4 different perspectives help us understand the body in 4 different ways. Now, let us go ahead and see how yoga sees the body. A yogic understanding of the human body. So, in the yogic tradition, the body is seen to be made up of 5 sheaths which are called the Pancha Kosha. These Pancha Koshas are organized from the grossest, which is the most tangible, the one we can see, the one we can most easily identify and touch and feel, to the subtlest, that which exists but we cannot essentially touch materially, right. So, let us start. The first one is the Annamaya Kosha. The Annamaya Kosha is the physical body, the earthly body that we all touch and feel. This is the Annamaya Kosha. The second is Pranamaya Kosha. Now, Pranamaya Kosha includes our prana or the vital air. Since air is extremely important for us to survive, and it, apart from survival, it serves several other functions in the body. The vital air sheath is called the Pranamaya Kosha. The third is the Manomaya Kosha. So, Mano comes from the word Manas, and Manomaya Kosha is the kosha which is responsible for all sensory perception. So, whatever we sense, we feel is included in the Manomaya Kosha. Next, we have the Vijnanamaya Kosha or our cognitional sheath. This sheath is responsible for all cognitive functions that we perform, and this also includes intelligence. Finally, we have the Anandamaya Kosha, which is the subtlest of all the Pancha Koshas that we see. Anandamaya Kosha is the seat of bliss. It is where our true self, according to the Yoga Shastras, resides. Let us delve deeper into each of these koshas and see what do they mean, what do they pertain to, what are their elements of which they are made up, right? And finally, also let's explore how and by doing what kind of activities can we improve each of these koshas. So, first, this is the Panchakosha model. So, according to yoga, if you were to illustrate what the body is made up of, this is how you will represent it. So, let us start with the first one, which is the Annamaya Kosha. The Annamaya Kosha is our physical body, and therefore physical development as well as bodily awareness are crucial to our Annamaya Kosha. The Annamaya Kosha is about our physical body, and therefore it is concerned with the strength and development of our physical system as well as creating good body awareness. Second, we see the Pranamaya Kosha here. The Pranamaya Kosha, because it is fundamentally linked with breath or the prana, which is also called the vital force, is responsible for active engagement of all sensorial perception. So, how active or vibrant one is dependent on one's Pranamaya Kosha. The third, which we will see, is the Manomaya Kosha. The Manomaya Kosha is concerned with our socio-emotional and ethical development. through the development of a healthy Manomaya Kosha, one becomes aware. So, awareness increases and one is then skillfully able to regulate one's emotions. One is able to respond to life and its circumstances in a better manner. Next, we see the Vijnanamaya Kosha. The Vijnanamaya Kosha is our seat of intelligence, right? It is in the Vijnanamaya that our aptitude and our cognitive capabilities are connected. The Vijnanamaya Kosha is also responsible for various cognitive executive functions that we perform as human beings. So, wherever we have to apply our intelligence and do something, that is the Vijnanamaya Kosha's realm. Finally, we look at the Anandamaya Kosha. The Anandamaya Kosha is very closely linked to aesthetic and cultural refinement and development. One experience as means of transcendence using the arts and crafts also happens through the Anandamaya Kosha. The Anandamaya Kosha is responsible for contentment, for equanimity. It is responsible for a feeling of bliss without having to be dependent upon external sensory perception to provide us happiness. Let us now delve deeper into each of these koshas and understand how they formulate the understanding of a human body. The first one we begin with is the Annamaya Kosha. So, Annamaya Kosha is the sheath which sustains and develops based on Anna. Anna essentially means food and matter, right. So, we all eat food and that food transforms our body, it changes our bodily composition. That is the understanding of the Annamaya Kosha. The Annamaya Kosha undergoes the following Shadvikaras. The first is Asti. Asti is when one exists in the state of the womb as an unborn, right, that is called Asti. The second is Jayate. Jayate means to be born. So, when a body is born, it comes out of the womb and is now an independent entity, that is Jayate. Third is Vardhate, meaning to grow. So, as we see across our childhood, we grow taller, we grow in strength and so on. Viparinamate, meaning to transform. So, we see across periods of our life, our body transforms again and again, responding to what age we are in, what are the requirements that we demand of it and so on. So, the Annamaya Kosha is subject to these transformations. Apakshiyate. Apakshiyate is to grow old, to decay, right. So, as we age, decay of the Annamaya Kosha happens. Our organs become weaker, our skin starts to show signs of age and so on. So, the body goes through a process of decay. And finally, the Annamaya Kosha is a kosha that does not live forever. It is subject to Vinashyati, meaning it is subject to ultimately death. It will be destroyed through the final process of Vinashyati. Now, since Annamaya Kosha is essentially dependent on Anna, which is food and matter, it is very closely linked to what we eat. Therefore, dosha, rasa and the guna of food have a huge impact on our Annamaya Kosha. So, as you would have seen in your Ayurveda lectures, the three doshas which we have looked at are Vata, Pitta and Kapha. Vata, Pitta, Kapha are very essential constituents of the Annamaya Kosha. Similarly, the Shadrasas, which are Amla, Madura, Lavana, Tikta, Katu and Kashaya, make up the 6 tastes that are present in all food, right. So, whenever we eat anything, the rasa that we get out of it has to be one of these 6. Based on what kind of rasa we consume, our Annamaya Kosha changes or transforms. Finally, food that we eat can be sattvic, rajasic or tamasic. Depending on whether it is sattvic, rajasic or tamasic, it changes the very quality of our Annamaya kosha. If we eat a lot of tamasic food, we will tend to become lazy, we will tend to become more lethargic, we will feel like sleeping all the time and not have energy. That will make our body itself tamasic. If we have food which is extremely rajasic, which is very invigorating, let's say we have something which is very spicy for instance, that is how it will react and form our body. Finally, sattvic food is balanced food, and each of these gunas also exist in our body. So, as we consume food across these three categories, sattvic food is fresh food, eating it at the right time, keeping a state of balance of one's doshas becomes sattvic. And a sattvic body will be a body which is light and content, not prone to too much activity out of passion, or not used to resting a lot or lethargy, but it will be a body very well content, very stable, strong, and at the same time capable of action. These are the constituents of the Annamaya kosha and the factors which impact it. So, the physical dimensions are developed through a focus on balanced diet, traditional games and adequate exercise, as well as yoga asanas at the right ages. So, doing all these actions will help us build both gross and fine motor skills. When we eat a balanced diet, we are likely to be better balanced, we are likely to be healthy and avoid disease. When we play traditional games and get adequate exercise, we develop different parts of our body. Yogasanas play a hugely important role in giving body both strength and flexibility, because yoga does not just work on our Annamaya kosha but also our other koshas. Yogasanas help us build stability, strength and flexibility at the same time. When we do all these things together, we develop gross and fine motor skills. So, to develop one's Annamaya kosha, doing age specific balanced physical development. So, not to do it too less or too much, doing it according to one's age and stage in life is extremely important. Having a focus on physical fitness, having flexibility, strength and endurance. Endurance here means having stamina. Developing one's senses adequately. Nutrition. So, a focus on a balanced diet will also help us look at nutrition and eat more nutritionally balanced meals. Having a focus on hygiene, right. So, for example, living in a dirty environment or eating or engaging with things which are not clean can often be the source of disease in our life, and therefore to keep one's body healthy, one must focus on hygiene. Personal health and expansion of one's physical capabilities is extremely important, and it is said that building one's body and habits keeping in mind 100 years of healthy living in a human being is the right way of approaching one's Annamaya kosha. So, we must treat it with that kind of care and respect by doing all these activities, so it can live on for 100 years. Next, moving on to the Pranamaya kosha. So, the Pranamaya kosha is essentially our energy body. It gives us the energy which moves the faculties of action. The Pranamaya kosha is linked very closely with the Pancha Karmendriya. The Pranamaya kosha can be further classified into Pancha Prana, or the 5 types of prana which exist in our body. These are Prana, Apana, Samana, Udana and Vyana. So, let us start now with this figure which you can see on the screen in mind. So, you can see here the Vyana Vayu is responsible for circulation. It is the circulatory Vayu which moves things all across our body. Remember, Vayu essentially serves a very important circulatory function. It is responsible for movement in our body. The Udana Vayu is an upward moving Vayu. The Prana Vayu is our respiratory Vayu. So, the Vayu which we associate with breathing in and breathing out is the Prana Vayu. The Samana Vayu is responsible for the digestive function in the body. So, it aids the digestion in our bodies. And lastly, the Apana Vayu is a Vayu which moves specifically downward. It pushes things out of our systems, and therefore things like excretion are very closely linked to the Apana Vayu. The Pancha Vayus are also closely linked with our Pancha Karmendriya. These are Vak, Pani, Pada, Payu and Upastha. Vak has to do with speech. Pani is movement in our hands. Pada, movement with our feet. Payu, which is excretory functions or removal of waste from the body, and Upastha, which is the reproductive process of the body. So, these Pancha Karmendriya are closely associated with the Pancha Prana, and in fact the actions which each of these Karmendriya perform are to do with the different prana which enable these functions. Now, let us understand how one can work upon the Pranamaya Kosha to make it healthier, and what are the signs of a well functioning and robust Pranamaya Kosha. First off, learning to breathe in a way that provides the necessary oxygen for the entire body is extremely important for our Pranamaya Kosha. It trains our voice and provides the direction for increased self-awareness. Similarly, signs of a healthy Pranamaya Kosha also include balance and retention of energy. So, one is able to retain energy and not feel tired or exhausted very quickly. Positive energy and enthusiasm also reflect the presence of a healthy Pranamaya Kosha. Smooth functioning of all major systems such as the digestive, respiratory, circulatory and nervous system are also important. As we saw in the previous slide, different types of Vayus are responsible for different functioning in our system and are closely linked to the process of breathing, digestion, excretion, reproduction, hand and feet movement and so on. So, a well developed Pranamaya Kosha will essentially mean that all our major system function in a good and proper way. A good Pranamaya Kosha also regulates the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system in a way to keep one's balance. We will learn more about the connection between yoga, the Pranamaya Kosha and the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system in subsequent lectures. The third is Manomaya Kosha. The Manomaya Kosha is responsible for processing of the information which is gathered through our senses. It is made up of our manas, which is the central part of the Manomaya Kosha. Our manas, however, is inflicted with different kinds of things. Let us see what they are. The first is Sankalpa and Vikalpa. So, Sankalpa means one's will, one's ability to say, this is what I will do. So, decisive action or making decisions are Sankalpa, Sankalpa Shakti. Vikalpa is hesitation, not knowing what to do, confusion, right? So, our manas is bound to be decisive or confused. It may not know which to do. This is essentially because it processes information which is gathered from our senses. The second, our manas can also be inflicted by raga and dvesha. So, it will prefer things that it likes or loves, which is raga, and try to avoid and move away from things which it has dvesha or dislike towards. Finally, abhinivesha or our fundamental fear of death and fear of other things associated with it also lies in the manas. Our manas can also be affected by the Shadripu or 6 enemies listed as follows. The first is kama or desire, when we are desirous of something, that is the first. Second is krodha or anger. Third is lobha or greed, wanting something that, wanting more, wanting something that belongs to another. Madha or our sense of I. Moha or our attachment towards things. And matsarya or partiality. So when we are partial towards some people or some things over others, that is also something which the manas can be inflicted by. As we can see in our day-to-day life, these Shadripus come across as experiences which we all go through. But remembering the Shadripus will be very important, since as we go across this lecture series on yoga, we will see how yoga can help us fight these Shadripus, and we will see how yoga can help us fight these Shadripus, have them under our control, and develop and blossom as full human beings. Our manas is also closely linked to the Panchajnanendriya, which are internal organs of perception. Let us see what these are. The first is Shrotram, which is to hear. So all the sound which we hear is through the sense of hearing. Twak or touch. Chakshu or vision. Rasana or taste. And Ghranam or smell. So as we know, these are the different 5 senses through which different things enter and interact with us. These Panch Jnanendriyas are ways through which things in the outside world, which are exterior to us, interact and enter our system. So through the sense of hearing, we take in sound. Through the sense of touch, we can perceive things via touching them. Through vision, we are able to see those things on which light falls. Through taste, we are able to tell how something is tasted via the tongue. And finally, through the sense of smell, we are able to tell how something is smelling in the exterior world. So these Panchajnanendriya are ways in which sense perception takes place. This sense perception, the information which we gather from these 5 senses, is processed in our manas. Now, what all is the manas responsible for? The manas is responsible for our emotional and mental development through gaining the powers of concentration, peace, will and willpower through which we make decisions, courage, handling negative emotions, developing virtues or mulyavardhan, the will to attach and detach from work as well as people and situations. The Manomaya Kosha can be developed through the visual and performing arts. So when we see the higher elevation which the visual and performing arts do through using emotion in positive ways, by elevating our senses and giving them the right inputs which engage them correctly and inform them correctly. Similarly, culture and literature serve similar functions. Cultural and literary objects also allow us to engage with a vast variety of material which improves our manas, and it gives it the right kind of input to cultivate itself. A very important thing to be mentioned here is the importance of seva. Seva, integrated into everyday life, enables the experience of joy of relationships along with being part of and doing good for one's community. Seva helps us do things not just for ourselves but for others and find joy in that particular exercise. These are some ways in which we can develop our Manomaya Kosha. Next, we move on to the Vijnanamaya Kosha. The Vijnanamaya Kosha is our intellectual and cognitive executive functions. Its prime instrument is the Buddhi. So, we have a Nishyatmaka Buddhi, which is responsible for deterministic thinking. The Buddhi is a highly refined instrument according to yoga. It is capable of Viveka and Vichara. Viveka means the process of discrimination, the action through which one can discern the right from the wrong, one thing from another, correct action, incorrect action, dharma, adharma, and so on. So, Viveka is our ability to pierce through things and do discriminatory thinking. Vichara at the same time is reflection or the ability to think as we understand it today. Our Buddhi performs the following functions and does the process of discernment. So, what are the pramanas or ways of valid knowledge? The first is pratyaksha, which is direct perception that we do through our senses. The second is anumana or inference, when we do not directly perceive, but by knowing the right logical relations between two things, we are able to infer information. Upamana or comparison and analogy. And finally, Shabda or reliable knowledge, which we get from seers and experts. Our Vijnanamaya Kosha is the seat of several executive functions that we perform. It is responsible for our attentional control, our cognitive inhibition, inhibitory control, our working memory, and our cognitive flexibility or plasticity. A slightly undeveloped Vijnanamaya Kosha can lead to learning difficulties and may require special needs to improve and work on the Vijnanamaya Kosha. The Vijnanamaya Kosha is where things like observation, experimentation, analytical ability, abstract and divergent thinking, synthesis, logical reasoning, linguistic skills, imagination, creativity, the power of discrimination, generalization and abstraction take place. We perform all these functions using our mind in our day-to-day life. All these are associated with the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Now, how can one enhance these abilities which exist in the Vijnanamaya? Let's see. A wide variety of stories. So, when one is exposed to stories, songs, lullabies, poems, one's creative ability, the ability to make connections, to find logic, all of these get enhanced. Prayer, enabling children to not only develop a love for their cultural context, but also provide value-based insights. These are all the things which help us develop our different capabilities in the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Exposure to a lot of content through the medium of stories, songs, lullabies, etc. contributes also to linguistic development, beginning with working on our capacity for listening or Shravana. So, when we listen, we also become better at focus and concentration. Our senses or the Indriyas are also to be sharpened to be able to experience the world around us in all its beauty and wonder. Sharpened senses will be better able to perform the various functions that we mentioned before. Finally, we come to the Anandamaya Kosha. The Anandamaya Kosha is associated with the fundamental state of rested stillness and happiness. Our Anandamaya Kosha includes our Ahamkara. Now, our Ahamkara is responsible for all the Kartitva Bhava or the doership principle which we have as people. We often discern this is me and this is mine. That is the function that ahamkara serves. Developing a healthy sense of ahamkarta, I am the doer, also occurs from the ahamkara. The ahamkara, when well developed, gives us a balanced idea of self-identity. So who we are, how do we define ourselves, is essentially happening because of the ahamkara. The ahamkara also gives us a sense of belonging. It tells us these are our objects and these are not. These are the people we associated with. This is the community we are part of, and so on. All sense of identity and belonging essentially rests in the ahamkara. Some concepts related to our Anandamaya Kosha are default mode network. So default mode network in cognitive science is essentially when the brain is not actively engaged or paying attention to an external object or task. It is active yet in a restful state. Similarly, the feeling of flow and happiness. So often when we feel very content and restful in life and we feel happy without having the need for external things to satisfy that happiness, is also associated with our Anandamaya Kosha. Finally, a natural vibrance that we possess is also because of the Anandamaya. The Anandamaya Kosha is related with feelings of happiness, love and compassion, which emerges from a deep sense, spontaneity, the essential need for freedom that we as human beings possess. An aesthetic sense, the journey of turning our awareness inwards instead of outward, are all associated with the Anandamaya Kosha. One can develop and enhance one's Anandamaya Kosha by exposure to seva, bhajans, music and dance. So cultural and aesthetic development form a very integral part of the Anandamaya, because music and dance are also ways through which we find this still happiness. Doing meditation or meditative practices are very crucial for the development of the Anandamaya Kosha. Puja, dhyana and devotion, practices related to bhakti, will also help develop this particular dimension in children. I hope this particular lecture, in which we saw the Panchakoshas, what they are constituted of, what are the functions they perform, helped you understand the human body from a yogic standpoint. The Panchakosha model has been central to education and pedagogy in the Indian system, and newer ways of learning are increasingly including Panchakoshiya Shiksha, or ways in which Shiksha or education enhances all the Panchakoshas of a child. These will help education become more rooted as well as holistic in nature. I hope this was helpful for you to find and know more about the same. Thank you.